This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to talk about something that I'm certain I've touched on multiple times throughout the 380 odd episodes, but I think something that is so crucial for us to hear, like time and time again. And I just want to pull apart three things that may help you with this. And that's how to get through tough times. I could do a fucking shit ton of podcasts on this and spend a lot of time on it, use examples, interview people and all that sort of stuff. But I had a bit of a think about some three things that I think that can be literally take-homes from a simple conversation such as this one that you can literally start to implement today to take you through the tough times. And I think the first thing, even though this isn't one of it, but one of the first things to really understand is that we all go through tough times. Sometimes those that seem to have it easier never actually get to realize what it's like to be tough, so to speak, to have to go through the tough times, because the tough times, they're there to help harden us, to strengthen us, to allow us to learn more and move through life, to not take people's shit, including our own, by the way. And really start to learn the harder lessons of life that school can't teach us. I mean, school's a man-made construct anyway, not that that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that there's a purpose behind school, and it's not to necessarily teach us about how to pay tax and how to get through tough times, understand our emotions, and these things that, besides tax, are inherently human. So the reality is that we're all going to go through tough times at different stages and at different types of tough times. What might be tough for one person is not necessarily tough for the other, but at the end of the day, we are all going to go through it at some stage or stages of our lives. And I know I definitely have as well. And the challenge of the struggle is, one of the things which is really interesting is like, how often do I manifest my own struggle to make me feel like I'm battling against something, because that makes me feel maybe like I'm worthy of achieving something, right? And this is the genuine thought I've had many times. It's like, growing up, there was a lot of struggle, especially when I lived with my mum. It was just her and I. My three older sisters didn't live with us at the stage. Parents had already split up. And we moved around from rental to rental. Mum worked some part-time and some casual jobs, but otherwise I spent a fair bit of time at Centrelink, or the equivalent of that in America or other countries, I suppose, would be, what's it called? I wish I had a co-host here to tell me. Like, welfare. There you go. So I spent a heap of time there to try and make sure we could get some sort of money from the government to pay for things. And I suppose looking back on that, I really had some poor financial mapping, some poor emotional mapping, and self-worth mapping that later on in life sort of came to the forefront. Even though I was quite ambitious, it still came to the forefront that I really had to, and still had to work through. And the difficulty of understanding, going, well, if that's all I know, the struggle's all I know, how often do I create that when there actually isn't one? Just so I feel like I've got something to push up against, or maybe even to complain about. It's a really interesting thought. Going through the tough times, one of the first things we must do, and this is the first thing I've got written down for you guys, we have to set a goal, we have to set a target. We have to understand what the enemy is, right? And maybe the enemy is not another person. Maybe the enemy is, shaming myself. It could be a whole range of things of what the enemy actually is, but either way, we have to be able to set a goal. We have to know, why are we going through this? Like, what's the outcome of going through this difficult period? Like, why? What's the point otherwise? If I'm just going to go through and it's just challenging and it's hard, but what for? Like, what's the outcome at the end? And if we don't have something worthy for us, like that's worth going through, then we'll give up. Whatever that looks like. It could be quitting a job, or it could be suicide. There's so many variations of it, and it's not, it's quite morbid to think of the most extreme, but it's true. So the thing is that we have to be able to set a goal that's that's worthy for our attention and our energy, that we know is going to be, worth the squeeze, so to speak, and move towards that, and something that's going to be noble for us. And I think I talked about this just yesterday or the day before, around having a target to work towards allows us to have purpose. And so when we don't have a goal and we're going through tough times, it's often because we're just floating in the dark and the storms are hitting us and we just don't know what's going on. But we don't know where we want to go either, so we just stay there. But when we have something to work towards, then we can truly start moving in a way that's important to us. And that's fucking crucial, hey? Otherwise, the tough times are being created because you don't have direction. So, really important question, do I have direction? And if not, then what's the direction that I want? The second thing is to be strong enough to be vulnerable. When we're going through tough times, having the right support around us can be invaluable. And vulnerability really is a fucking strength. And I find it challenging as well. But I know that if I'm going through something and I'm finding it emotionally challenging, mentally challenging, and therefore physically challenging as well, that seeking help from people that maybe have your best interests at heart, or maybe they have been through this and walked through this before, or maybe they're just professionally equipped to deal with it. Working through and reaching out to these people for help is a sign of strength. It allows them to be able to live up to their strengths as well. But for you, it allows you to realize that you're not meant to have everything sorted. You can let go of the facade. You're allowed to be a human with their own difficulties and struggles and challenges. You're allowed to do that. And when we start to allow that, what ends up happening is that we start to release the pressure valve that we've put on ourselves, right? So this pressure's been building up, and when we accept this vulnerability, this sort of level of humility and humanness, the pressure valve just turns, opens up a little bit and starts to take some pressure off, because we're not a robot. School and maybe marketing of things told us otherwise, that we should be doing X, Y, and Z all the fucking time and turned on all the time and doing all this all the fucking time. But the human mammal is not like that. And so because of that, having the ability to be able to take that pressure off ourselves a little bit can be powerful. And seeking the right support, or any support to begin with, and putting your hand up, even if it's just jumping on Facebook, go, look guys, anyone that out there that does care about me, I'm really struggling at the moment, where can I go for some professional help, is one of the most vulnerable things that somebody could do. However, that could be what saves your life and the lives of those people around you, right? So it's a really interesting thing to think about. But vulnerability and asking for help is a sign of strength. And I admire any person that's in a position that allows themselves to do that. The last thing is that be very mindful of your self-talk, and be very mindful of the idea or the conversation or the question that goes, why is this happening to me? Because nothing's happening to you. It's happening for you. And when we understand that, we can start to look at these challenges and these difficulties objectively. We start to look at your emotions and your mental challenges objectively, rather than identifying as them and thinking that it's the woe is me sort of space. But we move away from being the victim to looking for solutions. And I use the victim term loosely, from the sense of the idea of being attacked by something, right? The thoughts, the emotions, the world's not attacking you. There's a lesson here. And unless we learn the lesson, it's going to keep showing up. So what's the lesson? And how can I integrate that lesson and that learning into my very being and into my day-to-day life? And in doing so, we start to shift. And before you know it, and I've said this fucking multiple times, change takes a long time. It can take years. It's not a 6-week transformation, 12-week transformation, before and after. Sometimes change takes more than a year. Sometimes the whole New Year's resolutions just isn't long enough. And that's okay. In fact, it's quite normal, because change is constantly happening. And when we resist change, we're not going to win. We can't win, because the world is continually changing. And so this beautiful space to allow ourselves this understanding that the tough times don't last. But yes, as the quote says, tough people do. Is that when things get tough, It's time to get tougher. It's time to look at all the things that's holding you back, that you're holding on to, and to fucking let them go. Let them go. Let all your thoughts, let the prison of other people's opinions go. And it's no longer time to be a prisoner, it's time to be free. But it's up to you to do that, and you can move through that tough time. And my friend, I wish you all the best if you're hearing this at the right time. But otherwise, that's me done for today. But I would love to catch you in Sydney on the 31st. The 31st? No, probably, maybe. 31st of some month. But 20th and 21st of September. 2-day seminar. It's Mood Prep Live Intensive. We're going to go through a heap of developmental models and thinking patterns and communication models, as well as personality types. Among many other levels and degrees and things and all that sort of stuff. I've got a live coming up in the Mood Prep community group soon as well, so if you want to jump on Facebook and join that group, I'd love to see you in there and asking some questions. Otherwise, team, that's me done for today. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.